What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Golden Dice Podcast. I'm your host, Jack. I'm joined by Brian, Scott, and Flock, the usual suspects. We are on episode number 21. And yes, we are all wearing the same exact clothes that we were wearing for our spoiler video because we recorded this and that.
Flock just dropped his nuts.
Same night.
I dropped 2 nuts.
Flock just dropped his nuts.
That's very graceful.
Want to see me do it again?
No.
But, so we're not going to go over any of the spoilers on this. If you missed that video and you're looking to hear our thoughts on the spoilers, you can go ahead and just go to our main YouTube page and check that out, as we will have that. It would be the video that is posted yesterday if you're listening to this on Friday. But yeah, so we're going to kind of jump in. We just had 1K at the Banish Zone in Central PA. We'll kind of go through what we did and obviously highlighting Scott's run to the finals. The rest of us are pretty much irrelevant of what we did, as we all miscut.
Too long, didn't read. They suck. I'm better.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh, Brian's got his cat. Look at that.
Yeah, and Brian's having to bribe people with his cat because he can't get any results.
Wait, stop making fun of me. Here's a cat. Then we'll dive into and just kind of mention England, Poland, and then the other 2 1Ks that we had as well. And then we'll kind of just dive into our thoughts of where the guy. I love how just the tail is just sticking straight up. Dive into our thoughts on that. But before we get into it, how are we all doing? Great.
I'm good.
Living. You guys are doing great. You're so excited to be here.
I've got a beer the size of my head.
That's true.
I'm muted because this cat's really loud.
Little does he know that I muted him before you could give any opinions on the meta.
True.
You muted the cat, you bastard.
You gotta Wilhelm scream that out.
Since all of you are jumping at the graphs to talk, I'll go ahead and kick off and simply say, I also wanted to give a half reminder, and I don't think it got bad, so it's not coming off like, hey, there's a big issue in the community, but just we've posted some of our recorded gameplay videos of our weeklies, and all I want to say is just give people a break. Everybody's still learning the game. You don't need to assume everybody's cheating. As we talk about the 1K coming up, there were some players who, and Brian, I can even attest to that. It's funny because you're not pointing to him, Brian, and how
you're just pointing.
I need to point that way. Scott, you need to point
to
the other side.
Yeah, Flock is still learning the game, everyone. Be really nice,
yeah,
okay?
Please be nice to me.
This is the worst Brady Bunch intro that I've ever seen. But people are still learning the game. When we were at the 1K, I played against somebody who drew 7 because that is what Lorcana is. Somebody who didn't know, people don't know the unique rule coming from Lorcana as well, because there is no unique rule, even in One Piece as well. And Brian and I can even attest to the fact that there was a point where we were playing Lorcana, One Piece, and SWU all at the same time. And literally each time we did something, we're like, is this the right rule? Or is that
which game's rules apply?
Yeah.
I asked every One Piece local. I was like,
am I doing
how many do I draw?
Do the same, literally.
And then I do 5 for life, right? And then
yeah.
So it gets confusing. It's
yeah, and
it's a lot.
As of recording this, right, this is the 3rd of April. Came out the 8th, so we're 1, 2, 3, 3.5 weeks. So even if you play a new leader every week at locals, you're still not even halfway through, the leaders. So all I'm saying is correct people on their mistakes, right? It's not like hey, ignore them, let them do what they want. If they draw 7 cards, be like, let's figure something out. But just people are learning the game, give them a break. They're coming from different IPs, different rules, settings that are very similar to this game, but slightly different. So, I just think it's important that, especially at weekly play, just give a break. That's all.
Except me, I have no excuse. Literally no excuse.
Oh yeah. If you're playing any of us and we make
I
mistakes,
don't play One Piece. I don't play Lorcana. So roast me. I deserve it.
We've also been
Continue
playing
to bash
since September or whatever. So do not let any of us get away with anything.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
You can roast all of us. Trust me.
Well, I mean, it happens. I mean, even tonight, when I was playing on my weekly, I didn't, I don't really play Hero often, so I didn't pay the 1 for Falcon. I was like, you gonna pay the 1 for Falcon? I'm like, that's a good question. I think I will.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, generally the community's been positive. It's not like I'm ever worried about anything, but just some of the stuff that you can see. because it can also turn people away of they're the ones that were recorded and now they kind of feel attacked or whatever. So, in terms of building community, but also most of you that probably doesn't apply because most of you probably don't have a 1.5K YouTube channel recording some of your games at locals that you have to worry about getting recorded and stuff like that. Most of you, the mistakes you'll make won't be noticed or are corrected
Nice
immediately.
flex.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
flex.
a little humble brag there.
That's a flex, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, we are a very below average YouTube channel that records games.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah.
Hey, we do have a fanboy in Alan that literally will do anything for us. So.
True.
So we got that.
Well, let's go ahead and dive in then to the 1K. Again, we went to the Banish Zone.
Why are you all so bad?
That's a great question. Hey, if I played Palpatine every game, dude, I'd have him down to a T. If I played against him, blue or red, bro, I got his number, baby.
You shoulda, decided on your deck before the morning of.
I also didn't play a single control, really. Like Krennic was close. Like I played him.
You lost to Tarkin, bro.
Yeah, that was bad. And I don't know how you. There's no way to cut that, but. The Tarkin was also the player who drew 7 cards, and I noticed game 2. So he did have an extra card in hand to start. I'm still trash. Don't take that as an excuse.
It sounded like he was trying to make excuses.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. But yeah, so I mean, I guess I'll kick off. I don't really have anything crazy of note. I played Sabine Green. I just felt the meta was shifting from everybody knowing that Boba is really, really good to being like, what beats Boba? Control. So I thought there was going to be a lot of control there, and I felt like I had a good game into that. And then also, even though it's maybe like a 40-60 into Boba, I felt like I could have a solid game if I played clean. And I did beat the only Boba Green that I did play. So, yeah, felt like I could handle that matchup, even though it's not the best. And so... Yeah, I played our boy John Lolly, who we see at Red Caps. We've talked to. He's in our Discord as well, and he top 4'd as Krennic Green, and he beat me round 1. He got his OBs off with Hask out, and Hask hit my base for like 11, and very scary, beefy boy. And definitely some misplays on me. Like I think there was a time where I prioritized like ECL on the Krennic when really I could have. I think Hask was out at that time too, so. Really, I probably just ECL Hask, and even though I lose the Steadfast at the same time of that, I think I'm more okay with that trade because then the experience tokens don't go crazy. But it's also a hard call because then what's-his-face restores 2 every time is very annoying. But yeah, I lost that, and then I won a Leia against Leia Red, and then that's when I lost to Mono Tarkin round 3. Round 4, I beat Vader Blue, and round 5, I beat Boba Green. Was how my day went, and then we just chilled out and we watched Scott crush it. I'm also glad that Scott played into the final, so we could like watch him play the whole time, and it wasn't like all 4 of us were sitting around. 3 of us because Flock left because he's too cool for us.
Yeah, because Flockton doesn't like to support us.
Flock left the night before too.
Yeah. 2 nights in a row, he
I didn't want to get my
dipped out
butt
on
kicked
us.
by my girlfriend, so yeah.
Oh, big flex. We get it.
I flexed the 1.5.
Y'all literally told me to leave.
Well,
But-
that's for a different reason.
Yeah.
All
didn't tell you to leave.
Okay, bud.
I needed the moral support, and you weren't there for me.
I mean, I gave you a pretty good pep talk before.
Yeah,
I left.
his pep talk was "Don't suck."
I think that's pretty
Pretty good pep talk.
self-explanatory.
It was solid advice. I mean, it
That's
is
as many
accurate
words
advice
as he can
say.
muster.
Very least.
All right, well, Flock, since you ditched us, I mean, that's how my day went. I don't think I have anything to add in regards to that. I still think Sabine was a good choice. I would run her back if given the opportunity. But, yeah. Flock, what'd you play? Who'd you play against? How'd you do?
So I played Vader because I like to go at least tier 2 when I play in tournaments. I'm
color?
not a tier. Does it matter?
Yeah.
I play Vader.
It does, yeah.
With ECL. Now looking back, I was talking over with Brian, and I wish I went 30 health base, and I didn't. I went ECL, and looking back, I probably should have gone the 30 health base. I think I could have done a little bit better with that. But anyway, first game on stream, playing against Boba, against Banana Crapshoot, who's doing the mono yellow Boba, and I cheated, so that's an asterisk for the 2-0 win. But yeah,
What'd
I
you
mean, we
do
both
again?
missed it. So the play was he had I think all of his resources were tapped. He had nothing going on, and I forced lightning his Boba, so he attacks with Boba, doesn't get to ready any resources. So I was like, so in my head, my play was, all right, attack with the Stormtrooper to do 3 damage, ECL in with the Viper Probe Droid to do 3 more damage to look at his hand, and then Vader action ping to do damage to kill Boba. So I was like in my head going on, but like since I knew he really didn't have any actions, I was like kind of do that. Then I would Viper Probe Droid did it all, and I forgot to take off the Stormtrooper off the board. And kind of happens. We both missed it, and then when the lady running the event came over and was like, "Yeah, so chat's talking about you missing a Stormtrooper." We both look at each other like, "What? What are you talking about?" We had no clue. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, "Oh, I think it was this. I think I forgot this. I could look at the Stormtrooper. I don't remember playing another one." So I was like, "Do you want me? I can take it off." Blah blah blah. I think it did 3 damage, and he's like, "It's too far ahead." Blah blah blah. So we kind of went on with that happening. So, but in the grand scheme of it, I think I was still already way ahead, so it didn't really matter, but it did matter because it should have been on the board. But also, it comes to the point where it's like both people need to kind of pick that out, and we both missed it. And
Don't say
no
both.
harm, no foul.
Don't say both.
Okay.
It's your unit,
That's
dude.
what he said. He was like, "Don't worry about it." I was like, dude, I feel so sorry, dude. Like, I'm so bad. I'm so sorry. And yeah.
Should have conceded.
Bananas are
game.
good.
Should have
Bananas are
conceded the
good.
game.
Yeah, I guess I probably should have now looking back at it. I wasn't thinking about that. He told me no problem. So, yeah, next time I guess I'll concede that. Yeah, that makes sense. But the next one was against Sabine. I wasn't even thinking about that in the moment. I was not even thinking about that. Anyway, next game was against Sabine. Yeah, I knew that was going to be a tough one for me. I was 0-2. Even with my sideboard of open fire and dropping my high cost stuff, I could not slow down a Sabine. The only thing that kind of kept me in it was the Force Lightning on a K2 and then killing K2 to not take the 3 damage, but it's just like that deck is so fast. There's not enough Sentinel units to slow it down for my deck, and with 25 health, it like really pushed me to the edge. So that was an 0-2. Quick loss for Sabine. That took like 10 minutes for 2 games. And then game 3 was against Brian Palp. That was a really fun game. First game was, I think,
tight.
The first game was actually, I think both games were tight. Game 1 and game 2 were really tight. And then we got down. There was 8 minutes left in the round, and then it was a 1-1.
We played the fastest, cleanest Destiny.
We played so fast.
It was. I watched the entire thing because they were like the only game going on at that point, and I was like very surprised they got the game done, but then also very surprised that they got the game done without like fumbling all over themselves, just trying to like play within the time limit.
I think I did fumble my hand and I dropped. I think you think Brian saw a Palpatine.
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything. I swear. But yeah. So that happened. So 1-2. Brian should have conceded to me, but whatever. I lost 1-2. And then game 4 was against Krennic. Went 2-1. First game I dropped it. It was just I didn't see anything I wanted. And he saw everything he wanted. I mean, that's the way the game goes. So, but then I sideboarded to make sure because I know he's going late game, so I got my late game stuff after sideboarding and then took a 2-1. And then 5th game was against Vader Blue, the control Vader Blue deck. Game 1 was kind of close, but I had it going. And game 2, I think he just had everything that was a high cost removal. There was a lot of times where I'm just like, I have full resources, attack with 2 units, and he's like taking initiative. I'm like, okay, I'll drop 3 units and do whatever. So I was kind of lucky in that game too that he saw absolutely nothing. So that was me, 3-2. Yeah.
I'll go next. We'll save the best for last.
Yep.
So I was running Palpatine Blue, and as a disclaimer before I even get started in this, I rushed around the night before at like 12:45, 1 a.m. Yeah, I want to get it out there because it's clearly not an intentional mistake, but I was making some changes and I had some cards out on my desk, and I was texting Jack up until the wee hours of the night, thinking like, do I do this? Do I do that? What do I do here? What do I do this? And the next morning, when I came downstairs and rushed around at like 7 a.m. on like no sleep because it was like Christmas, I came down and I grabbed 2 cards and I slotted them in. and one of them was not the system patrol craft that I was expecting, but a cargo juggernaut. So I had actually changed everything on the database to have my lists typed out for me, the deck list, the deck images, so on and so forth, whatever. So I get there and I'm like, all right, I have everything. I'm not even gonna check, and everyone, my deck is already shuffled and blah blah blah, whatever. So game one, I didn't even see the cargo juggernaut. I played a Vader Blue. Every game I played went to game 3, and it was like a quick all right, so what do we do here? I was like, oh, we're gonna play it. We're gonna play it like the fastest, cleanest third round of our lives, right here, right now. And everyone was like, actually, you know what? That sounds like fun. Let's do it. So game 3 was always like, all right, this, claim, pass, like very quick, very fun. And I'm not a slow control player either. I mean, Flock can attest to this. I don't take a long time to think what I'm doing. I pretty much know what I'm going to do when I do it. I mean, it's only pretty reactionary when it has to be. But anyway, game 1 was against the Vader Blue. I didn't see the cargo juggernaut at all. Clean, 2-1. Had a great time. Whatever have you. Next, I went up against a Boba Green. Got cleaned out the first game. And as I'm drawing up my mulligan, I see the cargo juggernaut in my hand, and I'm thinking, that's not in my deck list at all. So I grabbed my deck list, and I looked at it, and I was like, well, I got a scoop, man. I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened. I absolutely can see, I have a card in here that's not my list. My list is legal. And he was like, oh, dude, do you want to just, swap it out? I was like, no, I think I have to concede whatever. So I fixed it real quick. I had everything that I needed in my backpack with me. I brought a couple decks. Swap that out. Game 3 I won't go over again because it was against Flockton. We just talked about that. Game 4 was against my arch nemesis rival, Nate, who was on Vader Green. I should mention that I played Vader, Boba, Vader, and then another Vader after that. So I was very, very sick of playing Vader, but
that's where all the control games went, dude. I didn't play any of them. You did.
I played control mirrors all day. I was wiped by the end of the day. But again, I played very, very fast, very clean game 3s every time. There was no 2-0ing here. There was, actually this game was an 0-2. I did get cleaned out. He had answers for everything. The Ruthless Raiders are my biggest kryptonite on Saturday. My cat's freaking out. I'm sorry. And then game 5, I played another Vader, and this one I felt kind of bad. I vigilanced him into no deck.
Yeah, I was sitting next to you.
Game 1, and I could tell that it's the end of the day. We're not going anywhere, and I think he's a little frustrated. So I did feel bad about that, but yeah, I vigilanced him 3 times, cleaned his deck out, and won that way. And then the second game, I kind of just won animals. Second game, I just kind of won off. He didn't really have answers for what I was doing, and that was that. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I got to. Can you hear that? I'm sorry.
Nope.
You're good. Oh, I can. It's driving me nuts. Sorry. But I enjoyed myself immensely. I got to watch Scott at the end. I also pulled a showcase because that is a goal of mine, and goal achieved. It was a Hera. It's gorgeous.
But you had already bought it, so you traded it in for another showcase and a box.
I did go in with a Hera showcase, and I walked out with a GI showcase. So just filling out the list. I have a casual 7 left before I'm done the whole set.
So you have not.
But
9.
I have 9. Yeah.
Pulled 1.
Pulled 1. So there's that. But no, honestly, it was a great time. It was a great day. Everyone was really nice, and I have not a bad thing to say about it. The store also was incredible.
Oh.
They were incredibly generous. They were incredibly friendly. Everyone there was friendly. They had a lot of product too. So
Yeah.
that was.
I
felt very
6 cases on the shelf
cases.
and 4 or
And
5
then
boxes
2
in it, and then also
they
single
had
packs.
12 in there.
Oh,
12
they-
boxes in the display
Yeah.
case. Yeah, they were all gone by the end of the day.
Yeah, what? I turned to
And
Brian.
John,
I was
John
like,
Liley walked out with a case. So
so did the Boba player. I don't remember.
and Banana too, I think.
But yeah, I turned to
'Cause
Brian.
Banana pulled
I
a
was like,
Clark.
is this what it's like to attend a local game store where Brian can't clean you out of all your products?
Holy, yeah, true.
I stand by what I've done.
The store was absolutely amazing. They were I was talking to Nate earlier, and he was like middle of it, and they were talking after the first giveaway and stuff like that. I was like, dude, they must like be barely making profit or not. They're like losing some because like they literally like the cost of the admission and then all of like the they gave out like a booster box. They gave out a bunch of mats, a bunch of like
Yeah.
stuff. It was like I was like, yo, they're just giving their product away, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to build a community, get like a whole bunch of people to love the game, and the only way to really do that is to like like get people excited for the game. And it was like this is awesome.
They're aiming for every other month. So if you're anywhere near
Yeah.
Hey,
Middle PA, the next one's on May the 4th at the Banish Zone. So then the next one would be July would be another 1K.
yeah, that ample space, nice, clean environment, snacks.
Their issue is parking.
Water-
I believe that's what holds them back from going
There's-
more than 30.
There's parking in the back.
They got us pizza.
No, but I think that was like what the store owners like. They want to
Okay.
go up to 64 because they have the space downstairs.
Yeah,
or
they
something
could
like that.
fit whatever.
But it seems like but like there's that empty lot. There's got to be like something they could work out.
Yeah, you
where
can
it's
do
like,
something with it. Yeah, we'll figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can figure that one out.
Yeah, dude. They bought like 15 boxes of pizza, 20 boxes of pizza.
And it was good pizza too.
So what was the
That's
entrance?
good.
It was like $35. So think of all those giveaways. Think of
Yeah.
the pizza bought. Like $35 barely covers the 1K payout.
I got a dice tower too.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, you do figure like when you run those events that you're also going to make profit off of people being in the store and just buying stuff. Like I bought, I think 9 packs. Brian, you ended up buying like 2 boxes. The third one was the trade-in. Like I saw some people buy sleeves. People bought cases, right? So.
Bought these slide card cases.
Oh yeah. You got me. You're like happy birthday.
I got them for Jack, yeah, but I
Yeah.
bought them too, and I like them a lot, so I was like, happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, so I got
They're
some more
great.
slides. But yeah, I think everybody got something. Right towards the end, I think like the small gifts were like 2 packs
Soft crate.
or the soft crate. So
Yeah.
Brian is always wins the giveaways early, and I was at the end, so I got
You hooked
my
me up
little
with the X-wing mat.
X-wing playmat. Yeah,
With the X-wing mat, I was like, okay, cool, sweet. I'll
yeah.
take it.
So yeah, Banish Zone, awesome. If you're ever in that area, if you see the 1K pop up and you can grab a seat for it and you can swing it, definitely recommend all that. And they worked with us extremely well, so we won't be at the May 4th one. So if you're somebody who wants to stream it, they will help you out and hook you up with that stuff. So encourage you for that. But any other thoughts before we turn it over to the only good player on this podcast, Flockton?
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
one quick thing. I totally did not watch his finals while I was driving.
Good deep.
I totally did not watch it.
Good talk.
Totally not watch it while I was driving. Totally.
Scott, what'd you play?
I played Palp Red since it's the only deck that I've had built this entire time because contractually obligated because of the nice Palpatine showcase.
Did you get a showcase Palpatine?
I did get a showcase Palpatine.
Oh my God, that's
I
crazy.
almost forgot to tell you that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I know really. I've been keeping it like under wraps because I don't want to draw too much attention to myself. But so Palpatine Aggression, same deck that I'd used in our local. The Monday locals. Hadn't lost a round with it at the locals, so I figure just keep riding the hot hand and playing the deck that you've actually been playing. First round played into a mono blue Luke, which is a very favorable matchup for Palpatine. I mean, obviously something that's like trying to stack up upgrades, experience tokens on things. Like it just kind of plays into what Palpatine's doing. So short of like stacking all those on the Luke leader itself. I think it's a really favorable matchup in Palpatine's favor, and I won both of those. I won that round 2-0, basically off the back of that. There was even like at one point where I hit a traitorous onto a Guardian of the Wills that had like 2 electro staffs and a lightsaber. So that's just kind of how that game goes. Unfortunately for the Luke player, just if you can't keep Luke alive for long enough to get like the shields out and maybe Voltron him up, it can be tough sledding. Round 2,
Scott, before you do round 2, just anybody listening that does want the deck list to like see it before
go
Scott
ahead.
talks about it, it's on our Twitter and our Facebook. You have to scroll past the spoilers that we got from Shadows of the Galaxy, but Scott and all the top 8 stuff is posted all there, so you can see his full list and his sideboard and all that. But go ahead, take round 2.
And then round 2 was against Sabine Green, which is the opposite of a good matchup for Palpatine. Lost the first game pretty handily. Wasn't able to get much going. Second game, I was way more in, and I think I just made an error with my Palpatine flip. So at the point, that I flipped Palpatine, he had really like I flipped Palpatine more to like get aggressive and start taking his board down, but it allowed him to repopulate with a U-wing reinforcement. So he hit 3 space units off the U-wing reinforcement, which was part of the big problem. Like if he had hit 3 ground units off the U-wing reinforcement, I would have just killed them with everything that I had out. But hitting 3 space units off of it was a bit of a problem. I dealt with most what came out of that U-wing reinforcement, but then he hit another one and hit all space again. So I wasn't able to recover from that. So I lost that round 0-2. So we start off 2-0 and then go 0-2. Round 3, I got my first of 3. I guess I got this would have been the first of 2 Boba Greens that I played in Swiss. Boba Green, despite being probably like the big boogeyman, I think Palpatine aggression has a good matchup into him. Short of them blowing your doors off with their turn 5 kind of shenanigans and plays, you can recover from that. You can stabilize, and then as you get into the late game, so long as you don't get yourself snuck by a Boba's Fire Spray, you're in pretty good command, and you have a lot of counters in the deck for Boba's Fire Spray, so you just have to make sure you're keeping them in hand, whether they are overwhelming barrage on a unit that has 4 attacks, so that could be like anything in the deck. I mean, to be towards the end game, whether that's Palpatine himself, whether it's Palpatine unit, whether it's like a Ruthless Raider or something like that, and then also you have Palpatine as a unit. He just comes out, does 6 damage, and gets the Fire Spray off the board. So that can be your insurance against that kind of sneaky Fire Spray finishing you off, because that's really what's going to happen. You're going to stabilize, even in close games, you're going to stabilize at like 20-ish damage, and then you just have to make sure that you don't get like accidentally killed after that. So I won that round 2-0. Kept him, just made sure to ramp along with him, keep him off some crazy plays, force choke Boba, get him off the table, all that type of good stuff. And then round 4, I got revenge for Jack. I played into the Mono Tarkin, or the Mono Tarkin. Again, another one of those lists where it's like they're trying to build experience tokens into a list that can steal their units, so it's a little bit of a problem to have. Obviously, like we both have the green ramp. They have a little bit more because they're running the command, but my payout for ramping is a little bit bigger because obviously I have Palpatine. So played into my kind of game plan, with him not really being able to leverage his leader ability as much for fear of me just taking something. There was one round, I think it might have been in our first game, where he got 2 experience tokens on like a Royal Guard, and I hit him with the traitorous, so it ended up with a Royal Guard that was like a 5/7, just staring him out in the face in the mid game, and it's kind of a bit of a problem. So won that 2-0. So far, I haven't gone to a third game in any of my rounds. And then in the winning in round, the final round, because if you had a 4-1 record, you're going to make the top cut. In the final round, I played another Boba Green, and it was much the same as the first iteration of Boba Green that I played. Just again, making sure to not get the doors blown off in that turn 5 like onslaught where they're hitting like Boba Fett and Steadfast Battalion and untapping and things like that. Keeping some answers for those Steadfast Battalions for Boba Fett, getting them off the table as soon as possible so he can't continue to like kind of snowball from there. And then I mean my opponent, he's like Brian, just flummoxed by those Ruthless Raiders. Those Ruthless Raiders just he's like, wait, how'd you get? After I think I played like the second or third one in a game, he's like reading the card again, making sure that it's doing what it's. I'm like, yeah, it's 2 to something, 2 to base, and then when it leaves play, it does the same thing again. So those things are really, really kind of like ball busting in a lot of cases. So won that round 2-0. So going into at the end of Swiss was 4-1. So I was the only one of the Golden Dice to make the cut. I think I made the cut at like 4 or 5. I don't think. I mean, I don't remember which one I was, but I was like in the middle of the 4-1s, which makes sense. Lost round 2 and then won out through the rest. So going into the top cut, I get another Boba Green matchup, and it plays out exactly the same as the other Boba Green matchups, where, like I said, I think the Palpatine deck has a good matchup into Boba. I mean, Boba can obviously like beat you because they have some extraordinarily powerful plays. But so long as you're not like kind of like flubbing into it and really kind of giving them too many outs, I think like it just kind of works in your favor, and you're just basically trying to keep them off of much of a board, keep the damage on your units low until you get to the end game. Because if you just like look at that Boba Green deck, and I'll just bring one up here so I can make sure I'm not like talking out of my butt entirely. Like if you look at their like end game, they're capping out at like Vader's and Fett's fire spray. Obviously, like things like Steadfast Battalion, once Boba Fett is gone, they're not that threatening of a thing. And then you look, they have like Boba Fett Disintegrator and things like that. He's a prime candidate to be hit by a Traitorous, which is something that I was running in my deck. But otherwise, like they're really just kind of not able to match you if you're playing a number of turns. If you're playing, like resource turns 8, 9, and 10 against them, they're not doing as much as you are. And they're not really able to kind of like overcome what you're doing. You do have to watch in the matchup, and we did play, as far as the tournament goes, there was open deck list, so you were able to take a look at the deck list for your opponent before each game. You do have to watch out for if they're running Change of Heart, because that can lead to a blowout situation where you Palpatine and then they with 6 resources Change of Heart and get the unit back, and they'll end up keeping the unit due to the interaction there. Yeah. So you just have to know that and understand that like whatever you take with Palpatine, you have to do it when they're not showing 6 resources, or you've seen their hand with a probe droid, or if you do take something, you immediately just kill it off. Get whatever value you can from it, just remove it from the board, treat Palpatine that way. And it kind of like works out for you. But yeah, it's just kind of one of these things, like even if they sideboard in like a reinforcement walker or whatnot, it's not something that's threatening enough to you in the late game. It really is only something that's going to like keep the game going longer, which you want anyway. So it doesn't really kind of swing the matchup in that favor. And then in the top 4, played a friend, John Lally, playing that Krennic green deck. What is it, Krennic? Yeah, was it right?
No, I was just remembering the final play before he was like, all right, good game.
Yeah, again, it's a slower matchup. Like the Krennic deck is a little bit of a slower deck. Like there was frequently times where he'd bring out Krennic and I hadn't even dealt any damage to his base. So like the restore is kind of irrelevant. The bonus attack on the units can kind of be like it just there's a lot not going in the Krennic's favor. And if we're just kind of like ramping up with each other, like it's completely like in the Palpatine deck's wheelhouse to do that. Ruthless Raiders again just caused havoc, and then I think what was the last play? Was it I took Avenger or Devastator or one of the two?
You took the Devastator. Or no, you took Relentless.
Relentless. Oh yeah, took Relentless, the one that's the hardest to kill.
Yeah, because all the events are now burned. First event's burned.
Yeah, and it's just that type of thing. Like if you're playing this game and this goes for like a lot of blue-green decks that you're going to play. If you're playing a game with a Palpatine deck where you're just like, I play a unit, you play an event to get rid of that unit. No, nothing's on the board. Fine by me. I play, you play a unit, I play an event to get rid of the unit. Nothing's on the board. Fine with me. Then we're going to get to the late game, and you're going to be sitting there with like nothing on the board and only big units in your hand. And you either pass or you play into the Palpatine ability, in which case, like, neither are good options. And yeah, like Jack said, the final play, the game 2 was, he plays Relentless. I drop a Ruthless Raider to damage it, and then just Palpatine to steal it, and immediately, like, that's all she wrote.
Good game. Yeah, you almost can't against Palpatine. You can't play your Star Destroyers, your big ships, your whatever until he deploys. But then also puts you in a weird spot of like, how do you
force him to deploy?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're spending a lot of your time on those like blue events that are removing units, you're not developing units your own. You're never forcing the Palpatine to deploy to get board control. So, I mean, my goal with the Palpatine deck is to beat you without deploying the Palpatine, because that just gives me the ultimate like trump card if you do drop something big. Yeah. And then we go into the finals, and unfortunately it was Sabine Green in the finals. I really wish that Iden deck that had been able to beat the Sabine, because I think anybody but Sabine as far as what was in the top 8. I have a pretty good matchup into, and the Sabine games. I did manage to take one, I believe, because my opponent like whiffed on their turn 1 play, but that's kind of what you need to happen sometimes when you're playing into a bad matchup. But even like, yeah, even trying to play around things, and it just didn't work out. Sabine's really a tough matchup for that deck. She comes out on 4. You do have the tools to deal with her, but 8 having to wait for 4 full additional turns for your leader to come out can be really tough. You have open fire to deal with some of like the A-wings and whatnot, but the issue I find in that matchup is like as the Palpatine player, you have to really be predictive with your picks of your deployments and some of like your resourcing. And if you decide wrong, if they deploy in the other theater and you thought, like, all right, I'm going to keep the Imperial Interceptor and they don't deploy an A-wing or Red 3, then it's kind of a blowout situation in that. So I think like the Palpatine's line of play to win that matchup is pretty narrow, and the Sabine player has a lot more opportunity for like whatever their deck kind of just like gives them to make work. Mm-hmm. So that was the day, and finished in second. Didn't mind that. We split the prizing in the top 8. After I think the top 4 we split the prizing, so everybody walked with the same amount of store credit. So we were just playing for bragging rights, which is fine by me. I mean, really, it was the only. I would have walked with the same money anyway. So it was a good day. Felt really good about the deck. Won all of my matchups that I felt were good matchups to win. Lost to my bad matchup, and just unfortunately saw my bad matchup twice, and one of those instances being in the finals. And would have felt really good into anything else in the field, pretty much, except for the Sabine. Like I think Leia might be just slow enough for Palpatine to play into. I think Sabine's the only one that's like really just straight up too fast. Could probably like tweak the deck maybe a little bit more to play into that matchup, or could just decide like, all right, that matchup sucks and just shore up anything else.
I would say, were there any kind of like you had some why did I exit out of it? Just like some one-off cards, like you had like a one of Rook, one of Seven Sister, one of Fallen, one of Traitorous, like I don't know, anything's after that where you're like, if I ran it back, I would definitely take out this card and this card, put this card in main deck or sideboard.
Not especially. Like the Fallen Lightsaber is a real cheeky one of that I've gotten some use out of, like in every event that I played it in, except for this one. There just was no circumstance where it was like, oh, I'm deploying Palpatine on 8, 100%. And my play that turn is going to be like, all right, Palpatine to steal a unit, orbital or overwhelming barrage to clear the board, then Fallen Lightsaber to turn Palpatine into a monster. Usually, you would love to do it in the opposite order, where you Fallen Lightsaber, then overwhelming barrage, but you typically don't have enough time to kind of do that. But that's been a play that's happened a bunch of times in games. It just really didn't line up this tournament. I think probably because you have the 3 matchups against Boba Fett, so really I'm having to like bury that card in my resource row if I'm seeing it, because I can't afford. I need the other things in my hand to make sure that I'm not letting that turn 5 get away from me. One up Traitorous in the main board, and that's I'm fine with that. I go up to 3 in certain matchups. It's just a one of because it's typically got useful uses into any matchup, but I don't want to necessarily see a glut of them into some. It's really useful into more control-y matchups or other matchups where I know that they're running a nice suite of 3-cost units to steal, like say like a Boba Fett deck. They play Boba Fett, and you're like, I'll take them, and that's a big swing for them. You can get cheeky if you hit a resupply, and then they drop a super laser tech. You can trade us on the super laser tech, and then they're real sad.
I've been there.
Yep, he's been there. And then the Rook and the Seventh Sister. Again, it's just like I think there's a few options in the 5-cost slot as far as units for that deck, and they really boil down to like Rook, Callus, and Seventh Sister. And I think they're all kind of okay. Some are good in other situations, some are good in others. So I think it's just kind of, you could pick any of the 3 and kind of slot them in there, and you'd be fine. So running one-ofs is just because they're unique units, so I might as well have variety to them. None of them did great. None of them did anything like amazing during the day. None of them did anything were like bad plays during the day. They just are what they are. You have a few options at 5 cost, and those are what they are. Obviously, Rook is much better if you're running ECL, but can't do that on Palpatine because, well, not if you want to run aggression.
Yeah, not if you want another color. Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was our experience at Pennsylvania. 31 players. Sabine took it down.
Yep.
And yeah, so the other, we're kind of generally kind of get into like meta discussion. I mean, I think we all agree that the meta is kind of like taking shape, but I wouldn't say it's solved. So for a frame of reference, there was a tournament at England, and they just did Swiss. They didn't do a top cut, and the top 8 at the end of Swiss was all Boba greens, all Boba ECL. And then after that, I think 9th place was Grand Inquisitor. So they had some other stuff in there. And if they did do like a top 16 cut, I do believe it would have been interesting because every other deck that wasn't Boba, I think that 8 or 9 other decks that would have been in top 16 all had a winning or equal record to Boba Fett. So it would have been cool to see that play out and see how they paired up with each other. But so in England, Poland had Krennic as the winner, beating Boba in the final. But the big thing that everybody talked about coming out of there was Chewbacca being in top 8. And from there, people have been talking about Chewie a lot more. And then over the weekend on Saturday, again, we had our 1K. There was a 1K in Washington with 12 players. I don't know if they ended up actually making that a 1K with only 12 people playing in. But Boba won that. And then there was 38 players in Wisconsin, and Boba won that as well. So the big question is Boba ruining set 1? Is he the undeniable king of set 1?
No, he's not. I think it's a nice, healthy rock paper scissors of control, mid range aggro, but no one really cares about mid range right now.
It's Boba, baby.
There were a lot of
mid range.
I'm sorry. The controls like kind of like the loose cannon. I think like
the control
random
can be
Palpatines.
a bunch of different things.
Yeah. So I mean, Boba's not the end all be all. I mean, Sabine's kind of up there too, as we saw this weekend. But like, I think it's a coin flip, and I think that there are a couple different leaders that do a couple cool things that, I mean, really, the star of the show is ECL. They're all green. Everything's green. Green is like the definitive color of Star Wars.
Our top 8 different leaders, every single one had green.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, I think that I don't think it's a character thing. I think it's a color thing. I think it's a command thing.
I think that goes to show it's just good color. Like even if you're not on ECL, like Scott's list, you're still getting like Vader,
I'm playing
Super
ramp.
Laser Tech.
I have to play ramp.
Yeah.
It's the ramp. I mean, like you'll find those end game units in any other color. I mean, maybe not yellow. Yellow's kind of got weak end game units at the moment for villain. But you can find, blue has good end game units and things like that. But like, it's the fact that if you're running a control deck, you need ramp. Otherwise, you are
dead in the water.
You're not gonna be able to beat this Boba Fett deck.
Right.
Because they're gonna if they ramp up and they're playing their crazy turn 5 when you're at you're still 3 turns away, 3 like hard play turns before you get your leader. Like if in a Vader deck or 2 turns away from getting your leader, and other decks come out on 6, like that Boba Fett and the Steadfast Battalion are going to run over you.
Yeah. I mean, I think the top 3 are still kind of like what it has been of Iden, Boba, Sabine, all with ECL. And it feels like they're top because I wouldn't say any of them necessarily have like bad matchups, right? Like Boba probably isn't as good into control, and Sabine maybe isn't as good into Boba, and Iden isn't as good into Sabine, right? They all kind of counter each other a little bit, but I still wouldn't say like any of those matchups are unwinnable. Like I think a Sabine player that plays well could definitely beat a Boba player. A Boba player that plays well could definitely beat a control player. So the meta like does feel balanced in a sense of that there's other options. And I would also say like all the tier 2 options I feel like are all good decks, but they end up having like their bad matchup is a lot worse than like Boba's bad matchup, right? Say Boba's bad matchup, he's 40-60 into something, whereas like Palp's bad matchup, I don't know, say he's 30 into something. You know what I mean? So it's like Palp struggles a little bit more to aggro or whatever than Iden Green would, but He maybe is better into boba. He's maybe better into some other things. So the meta like feels pretty good, and I think that people just. I think we're just still exploring it because even like our event, I wouldn't draw any meta conclusions from a 1K 31 person event.
I mean, we had like you said, the biggest event. There was no top cut, so you just saw like the bobas at the top. And I think like the boba deck is very very easy to get its high payoff because its high payoff is you play resupply or ECL on turn 3, and then on turn 5 you're on turn well, actually, sorry, turn 2, and then your turn 3, you're cashing that in, so you're bringing out Boba early with a steadfast battalion, and you're just winning off, and you're ECLing that in. So it's a very like, this is what your deck does. Just do it, and then fire. Just do that, and then fire spray and win.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a pretty linear, and it's a pretty quick like line of play to get wins from. So I think it is like a easy deck to pilot to a strong record. Because if you just like concentrate on hitting that play, you're going to win a lot of games against a lot of things.
Who do you like playing against least as far as the big 3 goes? Like, you think Sabine is like a... I don't think oppressive is the right word. Do you think it's unfair? Like, are they that good? Do you think they're that unfair? Or, like, do you think it's within reason?
They all feel within reason to me. The worst feeling of the big 3 is like losing because they 4-caused into 4-cause. Like something along those lines.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit on like the like we're like, should 4-cause have been like discard those cards, or like put them to the bottom, not necessarily just let you do that. So that's kind of like this. Yeah, the Sabine is probably the most frustrating one to play against because you can,
Oh, I
you
stabilized,
can just
and then they hit.
I stabilized, and then they play a K2SO and a 4-cause, and you're like, oh, there's 7 damage that I couldn't do anything about.
I hate playing against Sabine personally. I think Sabine is like the. And I know Tyler from Garbage Rollers really hates Sabine, for sure.
Yes.
If you watch any of those games,
that's probably also shaped by the fact that you're like, I love Palp and I want to play Palp, and Palp's worst matchup. Like, you're just gonna get rolled by aggro.
It does gatekeep a little bit as far as to who can play what. But I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not Scott. I'm not a seasoned. Whatever. I'm enjoying the game for what it is, but I'm not as good as he is. But I went in with Palpatine going like, you know what? If I run the Sabina, it's over. That's game. I know what these matchups are. I know that I'm not going to be particularly formidable against any kind of aggro deck. So I mean, it does limit what you can bring to these kinds of things, and still walk away feeling good if you run into them or if you don't run into them. So
I think that's healthy though. Like if you walked into a meta and you're like, all right, my deck is the best one. I have no bad matchups. I'm comfortable. Then it's like,
and it should be like a rock paper scissors kind of thing, right? Where the archetypes should kind of be within reason, and I think they are.
You don't necessarily want so much decided just on matchup.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a fine line to walk of like you still want skill expression to come through and like good players able to like play to their outs in those bad matchups.
Sure.
Like I think it would be bad if like the rock always beats the scissors and the scissors always beats the paper, etc. But
more often than not, though, I mean it's kind of what it is.
I think Energy Conversion Lab is probably what makes the Sabine and the Boba decks somewhat overly oppressive to too many other decks. It's probably that ability to like be like, all right, I've got this like, overpowered line of ambushing in like K2SO or ambushing in like Steadfast Battalion and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, this is the color that I was already going to run anyway, so there's no opportunity cost there. Like that's kind of, that you're already dealing with that. So I think that's like one of the big things that if that were to have not existed or something like that, or the opportunity cost for that to have been a little bit different, I think both those decks would feel better playing into them with a greater variety of decks.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because like villain green, especially like Boba, there's definitely a drop off because like the power play is like it's hard to deny the ramp in ECL to deploy your leader ECL steadfast. Like that's hard to deny at all with a 4/7 leader. That's not easy. To
I mean,
remove.
Boba Fett's his stats are too high for his.
But cost. every other it's like green deck like is still just really good regardless because of the, and speaking villain exclusively, of the super laser tech, of the overwhelming barrage, and of Vader. Like and then like then you get to splash the neutral ones of like resupply and consortium, and then the seasoned shore troopers better. There's that debate of them versus Viper probe droids, but like either way, you're getting like a good pull into that. So like it's like villain green, I think still ends up in a good spot, even if you say tomorrow ECL's banned, which not advocating for within a first set. But I think hero is like where it actually kind of mixes stuff up. Like I think Sabine's best color probably shifts away from green and probably goes back to yellow with like Falcon and Surprise Strike, and some of those cards there. So it's like, yes, ECL is by far and away the best base and does dictate the meta a little bit too, but some of those decks, like you said, just want to go into that anyways, like especially the villain.
Like Boba would be running green regardless because you want to take advantage of his ability and his ability set. Like if you ramp and then you can get better stuff. And then obviously like the high end for green and villain is quite good at Vader and overwhelming barrage. But I agree on like the other end with like Sabine. It's like she's running green for ECL.
Yes, yeah,
and steadfast battalion, but like
you lucked out that it also ended up giving you like a good unit in the Battlefield Marine
the
and
Battlefield
the Echo
Marine.
Base, and then with Rebel Assault, like it gave you some good stuff, and those are all good cards within the deck. But if you took away ECL and you made me pick between all the colors at that point, I was like, I'll take the Falcon.
Yeah, but having and it really does show when you compare like Sabine to Leia. It's like they're running the same colors, but she can't run the base.
Yeah. And it's funny that Tarkin Town like ends like, and we've talked about this too. It's like Tarkin Town is actually a pretty good counter to ECL, depending on how the ECL goes. Right, if they overwhelm your whatever unit with a 7/7 that does 4 to base still, and then you Tarkin Town and kill the battalion, it's like they probably came out ahead because you traded bases, and they did 4 to base, 5 to base, and killed one of your units. So yeah, part of that is definitely weird. Like the other bases are good, but it's just like ECL is just so good. But I don't know. I guess going like off of that too. So like we know and we all agree of those big three, and like we talked about tier 2. Like
I don't necessarily agree with like Iden. I think she's a tier 2 deck. I think the other two are tier 1s.
That's spicy.
That's a spicy take. Spicy meatball.
That is spicy. So you think it's just
so what do you think like the Iden green, the Iden green control, like does it have a good matchup into Boba?
I think so, yeah.
Does it have a good matchup into Sabine?
I think it's decent enough.
All right.
I like maybe not favorable, but like the heals can definitely make her win games because she heals more consistently than someone like Krennic.
All right, I'd have to see like more of the matchup into like Boba with that, because I think that she like loses to like a lot of control decks, even though she is herself a control deck.
Well, yeah, so that's probably her downside is so like you bring her, you have a good game or at least an okay game into Boba and Sabine, which again arguably the other top 2 decks. But yeah, but then you're talking, she probably loses to Palp. Like I do think Palp in a vacuum of, if you compared all the control leaders to each other, I think he's the best. And I think he would beat Iden, he would beat Krennic, he would beat like a Vader of like control oriented. But then Palp I think would have a worse matchup into Sabine than Iden would into Sabine. And like that's where the issue I think would come of like Palp not being as fit into the meta.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Palp is a tier 1 deck. It's just I'm kind of like questioning like does Iden have good enough matchups into the other 2-1s to be a 1 while also not while also being like edged out on like the control versus Palp and maybe like a Vader Green or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's our project for the next few weeks to figure out before store championships or whatever, store showdowns. Excuse me.
Ugh. I hate running blue. Ruthless Raiders are a crutch for me, I think.
Hey, you could run that Iden red deck that I almost brought, where it's all removal.
No, that seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. I played that at Weeklies on Wednesday, and I played one game with I'm not bringing this to a tournament. There's no shot. No shot.
You're welcome.
What'd you do?
I was your round 1.
Oh. yeah. I was like, this should go well into the control mirrors, and then I lost, and I was like, okay. I mean, part of that was like me playing it for the first time ever, not knowing what I was doing. But hey, I mean, also playing that gave us like some good tech for the blue. For you, Brian, that got you to go to Vigilance, and for you to go to Childson.
Yeah, and I think that those 2 cards are huge in that list, and I think they definitely gave me an edge. Charleston's really good.
It's so scary.
And hard to get around because I think people are sleeping on that card, myself included, a little bit. Well, I mean, I was trying it back when I was doing Krennic, but like, but you drop that and you show 3 cards, like even 3, not the full 4, and people are like,
it's a 5/5 Sentinel, like what?
Yeah, what do I do? What do I do about that for 4? And I've still got stuff to play. I've got removal to play. Like, yeah, it's super decent.
I think there's legit lines where you just Power of the Dark Side, like you claim, right? They play whatever. You claim, you play Power of the Dark Side, and then they play a unit, and then you claim, and then you open up with a potentially 5/5 Childson, and there's like nothing that kills that outright.
They got to do 2 units, or they got to do 4 or 5 resources for takedown, or Vanquish, or Force Choke, or something like that. But they're still, I still come out ahead there, I think.
Yep.
So. But
and
yeah,
the
that
one
was
scenario you don't is Boba, ECL, Steadfast.
Yeah, and then I cried.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios that clears up. What's the problem? Just apply Boba, ECL, Steadfast Battalion.
But that that is so Palp's worst matchup is aggro. But like think about like Power on the Dark Side and a 5/5 Childson. Sabine has a lot of issues doing that unless they are main decking Heroic Sacrifice, because like they're at 4 resources, so they can't ECL that turn a Steadfast Battalion. So they would actually have to hit into Childson and kill him.
Yep. Or they just wait a turn and or they're in space.
Or they're in space. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that is always going to be a factor. But if they're ground and you do that, then yeah.
If they're ground. If they're all ground.
Yeah.
If they're not, then they can just wait a turn.
Yeah. But I mean, if I'm Palp and I play Childson and they pass, I feel like I'm content.
Yeah, that's if you
100%.
100%. But
and that happened a lot on
space,
Saturday.
They're like, ooh.
Oh yeah, space. It's like I'll hit you for 4 with A-wing and hit you for 3 with red 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think
and then I cried.
Set 2, if we get some more things that can trade into the Sabine, aka the Rebel space, a little bit better.
Yeah,
might make that matchup a little bit more palatable. I think that's like one of the areas where that matchup can be like really frustrating because it's just like cool. Like no deck can really compete in their space. Especially early, like you just the cards don't exist to like favorably trade into the things like TIE Fighter obviously does nothing unless I guess you're Tarkin, you give it an experience, but like there's no space unit that's like the equivalent of like the Viper Probe Droid to trade well into other space units.
I feel like I want like a 2-cost Sentinel or something like that to kind of slow it down. There's too many times where it's like if I don't have the initiative and Sabine's just going out there, drops the 2-cost unit. You're like, all right, well, you're going to Fleet Lieutenant and do 5 or 6 damage to me, and I can't stop it because you have initiative. So it's like that's kind of like one of the most feel bad thing. So I kind of want like a 2-drop Sentinel to kind of like maybe slow it down a little bit.
Do we? I don't think. Do we have any 2-drop sentinels? I think the
Anything
lowest is
Chewy
3.
If you're playing Chewy,
Yeah,
Oh,
if you're
sure,
playing
sure.
Chewy,
Yeah.
there's no other way to like stop it because they feel like it's just like, yep, they're gonna. But even Chewy is like if they have the
You have to.
they have
You
the
have to have initiative. Yeah.
if they have
I think-
initiative.
I mean,
just hit
the
it.
plus side is, I guess it's
I-
not.
I guess-
yeah.
Well, you need
It's
a
not
3
true,
cost sentinel. You don't
Yeah.
need a 2 cost.
Well, yeah, I guess you need 3 calls. You just say like, yep, take initiative first action, and then second action is gonna or second phase is gonna be Chewy action, throw sentinel down, and you know. But yeah, it's just like that's like one of the things. Like, there's a lot of times when I was playing against, every time I'm playing against me, it's like, yep, they just drop a wing or they drop the whatever, and all of a sudden it's like, yep, I'm taking 5 damage, and I can't stop it.
The best counter into that is using the base that we've talked about of the Consortium Star Viper to ECL to an A-wing to take 1 damage back and then kill the red 3 or whatever other.
But
Mhm.
if they
Space it.
went
What'd you just
first-
call it?
But if they went first,
What'd you call it?
consortium.
Okay, just check.
This
I wanted to
said
make
it
sure
wrong.
Tyler hasn't
He
hasn't
said it
taken
wrong, but it's
over.
okay.
Yeah, okay, bud.
I thought you said Constorium for a second. I was like,
I
No.
think he did.
Okay,
Yeah,
bud.
I think
roll
they're
back.
scared to print like space units that have a 3/2 stat line because they're worried about it that being too aggressive in space. But you kind of need them to trade into these 2/3, these A wings and things like that.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it's tough. Like even in those like controlled decks with like blue, like Inferno 4 even like feels bad. Like even if they play an A-wing and you play Inferno 4, the only way you're happy is if you also are running the worst fleet lieutenant, the
Imperial Snow Trooper.
no
Imperial
trooper
Snow-
lieutenant.
Trooper lieutenant.
yeah, to then attack for 4 into that, but then
And I didn't. And I would cut Inferno 4, actually. I mean, the Scry was useful occasionally. And I need the turn 1 plays, but like
2/3 in
I'm-
space doesn't do anything.
I'm certainly not running TIE fighters, but I also think Inferno 4 at a certain point, like I'd rather have something else in there. I can't quite tell what though.
yeah, I mean I could see going down to 2, cutting it completely. We would need to see the list obviously.
I
right?
ran
But
2. I ran 2
I think
on
that's fine.
Saturday, and it still was like it was okay. It felt okay as far as like helping me unclog my hand.
Yeah.
My coming hand in the next turn, but like
You run Consortium Star Viper is the
Yep.
is the
I
best
ran those
space play
too.
that you have.
I think.
Yeah,
as a-
it's especially hard on the villain side because it's like so funny how like the single aspect hero cards are just like so much better of like fleet lieutenant,
Yeah.
of wing leader, and then like even X-wing I
Even
like so
X-wing.
much better than the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
I didn't
Um,
run Consortium. That's a big mistake.
But yeah, all right, so we'll pretty much try to wrap it. We're about an hour here, but we got some questions we want to burn through.
Questions, let's do
some
it.
Patreon questions. Patreon. Some Discord questions. We don't have a Patreon. So starting off, Uncle Scott, Inception from Garbage Rollers. As the champion of the podcast, when is Scott going to receive his medal ceremony? It's in the mail. Definitely
It's in the mail.
check your
Nice.
This was
Check
it, wasn't
I'll
it?
check my mail.
mail. That reminds me, dude. I got a playset of our spoilers.
All right,
how
yeah.
beautiful- look
Yeah,
at
you got just
I've
the
never
fucking
thought I would be
glare.
so thankful for Jeremy picking Bamboozle to
Bamboozle.
be our spoiler until I got to get a hyperfoil version of it. Now the
Yes.
flock. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, Inception. They all are terrible.
They all are terrible.
I don't know what to do with them.
Hey
Jack
man,
doesn't pick a deck until like the morning of.
Dude,
Ryan
even if I picked it,
like
I would have only
is
had
pre-
reps in a
so
Palp.
Brian is so prepared that he messes up his deck somehow and has to concede a matchup that he's probably favored in.
Yeah.
And then Flockton, hard to combat 30-ish years of illiteracy.
True. I mean, that goes
Fair.
into the next question that
Fair enough.
Inception also asked. He says, now that Flock has been documented cheating at tournaments, when will GDP be issuing a formal apology?
We apologize for him
I'll say, I
all of
think
the
a
time.
consistent, that's like a weekly thing that we apologize for.
Yeah. It is.
And then his third question is, how many cases of set 2 are you buying, and why is everyone getting 2 or more?
I'm not.
I think I should field this question.
boxes.
Gosh,
I'm just getting one case.
I'm one, and then draft and a pre-release maybe pick up. But now, like the way set 1 went, where there's no product now, part of me is like, do I just go up to like 8 off the bat, 9 off the bat?
2 cases.
Oh, maybe we need to hold back some boxes for Church Draft League.
Yeah.
Church Draft
We
League.
just got to keep them away from Brian.
True.
I'm getting 2. I think I am gonna get 2. I've gone back and forth on this a couple times. I spent way too much this set. No shit. I mean, obviously. But I think that 2 is a good amount of like dopamine for my system. There is nothing technical. There's nothing like. There's no insider trading here. I got screwed on my ratios for sure, but I did pull some really great legendary spreads. I think I had everything I needed by like the second case. Sans showcase.
Yeah, I still have some like rare, like 5 boxes. I think I'm at 6 boxes now because I bought one with the store credit at the shop, and I think there's still some rares that I'm like I don't have 3 of them, but there also like I don't need 3 of those. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I had to get a few off Brian, and I ended with like 8.5, 9 boxes. Yeah, and I had to.
I gave
It's like
I gave
Heroic
Flock 11
Sacrifice, like
legendaries.
Spark Rebellion, like some random ones. Yeah, and, I mean legendaries make sense that I would have to like still collect
Yeah.
after 8, but it's like the rares sometimes. It's like
Yeah, I need to like I don't have any Luke Skywalkers, but I have pulled 5 Vaders, so it's like all right, I'm fine with
that's
that.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just cash 2 Vaders in for 3 Lukes.
So
plus
Brian's a case or 2 cases. I'm definitely a case. Scott and Flock, are you guys a case? How much further are you going?
under probably like 4 boxes ish.
Yeah, probably just a case.
I could see myself picking up another 1 or 2 after that, but definitely starting at a case, likely to finish around 8 or 9 again.
So I think I did
Yeah,
one
like
from,
I'll start at like 4ish boxes, and I'll probably like finish at a case.
one from Red Caps, one from Top Deck. Probably is where I'll do the same thing, and then obviously pre-release is probably 1, and then I would probably see myself drafting a couple times, products varying, if that's the product allowing.
With it being 4th of July weekend anyways, it would be very unlikely we do 4 pre-releases again anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. But I
wouldn't
would
want to
like to
anyways.
draft more than we were able to this set. And I said the opposite at the beginning of this set,
Drafting's so much
not
more
knowing
fun.
what we know now. But drafting's a ton of fun. And I like sealed too, but I think drafting's like right there. I think it's premiered, then drafting, then sealed for me.
You're just saying that because you're always next to me when we draft.
That's irrelevant.
True. Nah,
Erroneous.
Draft having like agency over it just feels a lot more fun than like sealed is like I'm basically playing Premier with a limited pool. Like I'm still playing the best cards that I have in the box, and I have no agency over what I got.
But you can tell that it was made with that in mind, and it shows. I mean, it's a very, very fun format. And I didn't like drafting for like Flesh and Blood.
You
That
don't like
sucked.
anything about Flesh and
That's irrelevant.
Blood. Cool. All right, so yeah, all of us ending up at least around a case. Most of us starting at a case.
High end is me, low end is Scott. Always.
J-Rod said, "Who is the best cheater on Golden Dice and why is it Flock?" Hey, Flock. I just want you to know that Brian did literally the same thing, arguably worse because his was a Sentinel. Tyler killed his Echo-based defender, and Brian just never took it off.
Mine was at a weekly. This was at a 1K tournament. And on a deck I ran for the first time.
I still think yours is
Yeah,
worse.
but you still know what Echo Defender
Echo-based.
does.
You played with and against him plenty of times.
This is
before.
the first time I played his assortment of 50 cards. Therefore, I don't know what any of the individual cards in the deck.
No, it's not even that I don't know what
How
it is.
long has
I
the card been
didn't kill it.
spoiled for? Brian, that's what you say to me all the time. How long has the card been spoiled for?
Because you still don't know what they do. Flockton did not draw a card after being force choked tonight.
I didn't need to. I literally had 2 4
Not the
calls
point.
in my hand.
Not the point.
I didn't really care. It's a May. I don't have to. Read the cards of May. Read the cards of May.
All right. Going on to Darth Jar Jar says, "Do you think Unit Boba at 5 would be worth it in a Mando deck with all the exhaust shenanigans happening?" No. Wouldn't be
No,
mine.
3 attack is too low. I mean, you're basically giving up like 2 base attack plus an effect for compared to like other 5 cost units.
Also, Flock, it's not a May. Read the card.
It's a May. No.
No. And we'll
Right
pause.
here on the top.
He was so emphatic.
Read it
Oh,
out
it's
loud.
supposed to say the
For the
unit's
class?
controller draws a card.
You think? Well, you think so?
It's a May. I
All
didn't
right,
read it.
Bill.
I didn't
It's a
All right,
May.
Bill Burr.
It's a May.
I could have sworn. I've been saying for the longest time you may draw a card.
And
I've
you've been
that.
saying it wrong.
It's Yoda. That's the May. Anyways,
You
I
can draw
don't
a
think
card
there's
off of Yoda?
many out of aspect cards that I would want to run. I mean, currently the only one we like debated and would put in a 50 in a competitive format was like the Vigilance in the control decks for the mirror, and then also being okay-ish into aggro.
Apparently, Super Laser Tech too. That's one.
Chicky D.
It's in the Han deck. Super Laser Tech.
Again,
It's a
wouldn't
thing.
draw overall large meta conclusions from a 31-person event.
Okay.
Also, would not draw out of aspect conclusions from Han decks.
Yeah, from Ewing, Han Ewing reinforcement decks. Yeah. Now, yeah, I mean, I get the synergy of what you want there. But if you're really like looking to go that, and if there's more exerting synergy in yellow come set 2, just play Thrawn, I think, rather than do Mando and pay out of
unless you have like bounty hunter synergy or something like that. Like that's maybe where it could start getting into a thing. Because you got to think of it this way: he'll become a 5-cost unit that's a 3/5. The 5 health is fine for a 5-cost unit. It's the 3 attack that's kind of deficient, and then you have its ability where it deals 3 damage to the defender. So if you're comparing it to like other 5-cost units, it's kind of close. You would need like a trait synergy to really take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like if you can pull it off, it's like a 6/5 for 5, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, add aspect stuff I haven't loved as much unless it's like a splash of something. No.
Yeah, unless it's giving your deck the ability to do something that it previously could not do.
Yeah.
I think some of the like splash cards are good for that, but I think in the case of this, it's like you can just find a unit that's on color or on aspects to
Do
kill
something similar. Yeah.
a 6 health unit. Like that's really what you're asking it to do.
Yep. And then Dark Charger also asked, do you have any favorite underrated decks? Currently if non-tier 1 is, I mean, both of these are probably like 2-tier. Grand Inquisitor a little bit lower tier 2, but I've been enjoying Churret and Grand Inquisitor. Those are the 2 decks I've been liking to play.
Palpatine.
I enjoy playing Chewbacca. Chewbacca Green. I mean, Palpatine, I guess if that counts as well.
I mean, my underrated is IG88.
You don't
You
play
don't even
him.
play him.
It just hasn't. No one's found that deck. I'll be working on it.
Bro, I've been hearing that for weeks, brother. Months even.
Months.
I've been messing with the Cassian deck this week.
Not even your deck.
And
I
that even
changed
leads into our next question from Twin Sons from Shane. So did Flock enjoy piloting my deck to 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, I made some changes because I play a little bit differently, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Wait, so you were allowed to change his deck, and I had to run IG with
yeah,
just commons and uncommons?
I changed his deck a little bit.
Not even the
yeah.
best commons and uncommons.
Yeah.
Look, I beat Pete with a deck with an IG88 deck that had only commons and uncommons. That was forced upon me by popular vote.
Yeah, Flock was like, I went 3-0 tonight. I was like, well, 2 of those were against like new players, and the other one was against Pete, who we clearly can't trust anymore.
Although he was 2-0.
He was 2-0.
Yeah, you guys played. Yeah, you played in the last room.
It was for the 3-0 spot.
I don't know, Pete. You're looking a little suspect right now. What's up with that?
So sus.
It's like you can't. It's like if you play an off meta deck against him, he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, he was on Iden Green again too. So.
Yeah, the space race with Cassian was real.
I have no idea how I won 2 games against his deck. I think it was. One of them was a. What's it called? ATST with the +2/+2 event on it, then I OB'd it. And then
That's
so I just
amazing.
took it into something for cleared his board and took it into something for overwhelm.
So
like
it's a 10 OB.
yeah. And so I'm like, all right, that's I like, but there's one I'm sitting there playing that into a blue deck. Like I'm playing against a blue deck, so I'm just sitting there. I'm like,
Don't vanquish me.
don't vanquish it. Don't vanquish it.
Yeah.
And I figured after the first +2/+2 buff that he did not have vanquish. I don't think he was holstering it for like the second.
Yeah.
But I could have easily gotten blown out in that situation.
Yep.
But he had to super laser blast me like 3 times. I'm like, I don't know, just played more Wampas or something. I don't even know.
There are Wampas in the deck. That's true.
I really just needed ECL instead. Just ECL. That I probably would have actually been able to win 2 rounds if I had ECL.
No rares. No rares.
Just that. That was the only way, and I wasn't allowed.
And then shifting over to Facebook questions, we have Nate, who we mentioned from that, and he wants to know, when will Brian and I not play each other at an event?
You and me stuck in this moment endlessly.
This goes back to Destiny days.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
So Brian just needs to. So Brian would have not played Nate had Brian just not had to concede a round because his deck was wrong.
Yeah, did you play the round after? Or did you play Flock
The
the round after?
No.
Yeah, I
I
played
played
two
him
rounds
round
after.
4.
Did you play
In
Flock
the words of Hannah Montana, everybody makes mistakes.
Hannah Montana coined that one.
Yeah.
Not Miley Cyrus?
Yeah. I can't remember.
When is she which?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Hannah Montana. It's a song.
Oh, Flock knows. He listened to it
Oh,
just
yeah.
before.
That's a little
Oh.
suspect.
Yeah.
Oh, I know
That's a
that
little
one.
weird.
Yeah, it's definitely Hannah Montana.
I know that one.
Not Miley Cyrus.
So that actually, Flock pointing that out also leads us into the next question from Alan. And Alan said, how many beers do you have to drink before you can tolerate Flockton?
I'm
Yeah,
on
Scott,
3.
Scott, how many beers did you drink to tolerate me?
I mean,
Scott's about to start drinking.
I just don't have that option. I'm stuck.
Oh. What
No matter
was the moment where Scott caught on to Brian and I just being like,
Steal, seek, or steal, sneak / whatever.
you
whatever
were
the
trying to
other
say
word
sneak
was.
attack or something?
No, he was trying to say he was trying to talk about sneaking damage through, and it's just 3 different.
He
S
said 3
synonyms.
different words. Yeah.
I was like, yes, all of those start with S, Tyler.
Scott just looked at me and Brian was like, oh, I kind of get it.
I was talking about this at locals tonight, but you can watch Flock all you want on these things and go like, haha, funny, I don't understand. And then when you meet him in person, it's like, oh.
People are probably like, man, you guys bully this dude a lot.
It's not without
Flock
cause.
bullies me. All right. Do you know the mental fortitude?
And so to
I
answer your
don't bully
question,
you guys at
Alan,
all.
the limit does not exist.
I gave you the black ones tonight. You can't say I don't care about you. Brian wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
Brian hates me.
Brian wouldn't do that. Brian would rather 1-2 with his terrible deck than give you.
True.
Damn. Okay.
True.
And then Flock Pete wants to know, will you ever actually play your showcase IG88?
All right, next week I'm gonna work on my IG88 deck this week, and I'm gonna mess with it, and I will bring it next week. Probably if we go to Red Caps on Monday, I'll take the Red Caps, and then if we go to Wednesday night,
I will not. Work starts back up on Wednesday, so I won't be there. I mean, you
well, I
got
don't
obviously
go.
live your
I
life.
can still go. I don't have to go if you don't go.
You and Brian often do not do things without me.
Yeah, that's when Ben over at Red Caps was like, oh, how many we got tonight? And I was just down playing where I was like, oh, there's 12 up there. I was like, but if Jack could come, there'd be 3 more people because
True.
Yep.
I do not travel over there if I do not have a chauffeur.
I almost came, but I was really, really tired.
I should have not. Yeah, I
made the
I was
deck.
too tired, and then to also add on playing a deck that had only commons and uncommons, and the leader was IG88.
Yeah.
That was a mistake on my part.
Yeah, I was sitting there, I was debating. I had the deck made, I was getting ready to go. I was like, all right, I'm leaving 15 minutes, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, I really don't feel like playing. I'm really tired. I want to go. So I love playing the game, but I'm just like, I'd rather
We
eat
started
dinner,
Soccer Tuesdays too.
go up to bed and watch One Piece than go to Red Caps, and that's what I did.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, I would rather have gone to Top Deck last night. Not gonna lie to you.
Okay, bud.
Oh, bro,
We
you
could
had so much.
we
I'm gonna
probably
play
still
a minute
could
of
have gone.
soccer, and the man runs around for 20 minutes.
We probably still could have gone.
Look at me, everybody. I do not run around for more than a minute and a half at
You
best.
did 10 minutes last night. You did pretty good, dude.
So anyway, next question on Facebook is from
From Roddy, and he asked, "Would you be willing to test the spoiled cards as proxy soon? At least the Moff Gideon one that seems possible at the moment."
I would love to.
I don't know if I said this on the podcast or if I said this at the end of the spoiler, but
It was the end
we're
of
not
the
totally
spoiler.
sure if we can do this and stay in line with FFG's good graces, but we're open and interested to it. And it really, if we're allowed to, it'll come down to if we feel like it. We make the content that we want to make when we want to make it, and we're in this for fun and stuff like that. So if we decide we want to do that, we'll do that. But also got to see if we even can do that. So yeah. And then the last question we have is from Adam, who it was also great to see Adam at the 1K event as well. For anybody that played Destiny and remembers the Kappa Cup, Adam was the one in charge of the Destiny portion, X-Wing portion, stuff like that as well. I think he ran the whole thing, actually. I think he set it all up. Maybe like he didn't TO or like run the Legion or X-Wing events, but he at least kind of coordinated all that stuff.
I think he drank out of the piss jar.
Probably I've refused to.
Yeah, I think
Alan's
he did.
jar.
Yeah,
But he
everyone
asked,
drank out of the piss jar.
was there a unique deck featured at the 1K that caught your eye? That finished like near the top? I'm not sure. I mean, the Tarkin mono green definitely caught my eyes. It whooped me, but
Top Red.
Yeah, Palp red, yeah.
I think everything was pretty much standard fare except for the Han deck that ran the super laser
Yeah, I
deck.
was gonna say, like, especially looking at the top tables, like it's probably the Han deck that had a super laser tech and some interesting stuff.
I'd say the mono Tarkin.
Yeah.
I don't know where he finished at, but at the very least, like he was.
He was 2-1 going
Three-
into you. You put him to 2-2.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you finished 3-2 or 2-3.
Mhm.
Yeah. Other than that, I was actually surprised that there was no Chewbacca command decks. I feel like that had been talked about a lot recently, and I was surprised to see none of it.
I should have run that Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't see. Like, yeah,
There was zero Chewbacca decks. So yeah, there was no Chewbacca decks at the event.
Because like if there was one and then it just got eaten up by things that kind of eat it, and it didn't play like Sabines and Leia's and other things like that, you could be like, all right, that makes sense. But yeah, there wasn't really. Yeah. No, I mean you get a pretty good variety of leaders, but I think I think obviously because a lot of all top 8 of the decks were running green, so that kind of cuts down on like the feel of variety.
yeah, even though it's a bunch of different leaders. Yeah, I've tried. There was 5 Boba ECL. There was Boba Yellow. There's Churd ECL, Grand Inquisitor Security, Han ECL, Iden ECL, Iden Red, Krennic ECL, Krennic Command Center, 3 Leias with a 30 HP, Mono Blue Luke, Palp Kestro, Palp Dagobah, Sabine ECL times 3, Tarkin Command, Tarkin Red, Thrawn Command, Vader Dagobah, 2 of them, Vader ECL, 2 of them, and Vader Command, the 30 HP base, 2 of them.
Man, there's only 3 Sabine, and I played Sabine twice.
Yeah. I mean, Top Cut makes sense that you would have played one, but yeah, getting paired in
eventually.
Swiss rounds. But yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, out of those, it's like cool to see a Thrawn, cool to see the Tarkins, cool to see Grand Inquisitor. Interesting to see Chirrut with ECL. But nothing like crazy new that it seems. So.
Yeah, and it's like because there's so many decks that are in that like tier 2-ish range, and then there's like not a huge difference between some of the tier 3 and then tier 2 decks. Like you just get you have a lot of parity in that realm. Like until someone's bringing like an IG deck or a Jin deck or like a mono Hera deck or something like that, you're kind of like, all right, well, it makes sense that you're here with that.
Of the 200 players, I believe Jim was the only one not registered at London.
Wow.
There was even one IG 88 deck who went like 2-1 or 3-1 against Boba. So there's our Boba killer. IG 88 right there.
Hey. You can make a living off that.
Let's go.
All right, so I mean that's all our questions. That's us talking about the meta. That's talking about where it's at. I think all of us are pretty happy. Obviously, some outliers both ways. Some things that are probably a little too good, and then there's definitely some leaders, some archetypes that aren't as good. But we'll see as that gets flushed out into
IG-88 should have 5 health.
set 2. Yeah, even if you just swap him to 4/5, he's a lot better.
He should just have 5 health.
Yeah,
He should just not die to anything.
Yeah.
And like arbitrarily.
yeah. All right. Any other thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
I think it's time for bed.
It's time for bed, y'all. All right.
Time to go to bread.
Appreciate everybody watching. Seriously, thank you guys so much for the support that have followed us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Our numbers have been blowing up, and just really appreciate you guys tuning in, watching all those things, following us. Means a lot that we can do these events, and we averaged like 250 people watching.
Yeah, there's
on
a shit ton of
Saturday.
people watching.
Yeah, I think the video is up to like 6K, 7K, 7.9K views on the live stream. So appreciate everybody tuning in. It means a lot that you guys would do that for us, and obviously makes us still excited to make content, daily content, whether it's gameplays, podcasts, deck decks, whatever it might be. But yeah, be sure to follow. Be sure to leave a review on Spotify if you're listening to us on there. If you follow us on Facebook, be sure to give a review there as well. We're creeping up. So we passed 1K right on YouTube, and we're currently at 902 on Facebook, and we're at 891 on Twitter. So we're close to breaking 1K on all of our platforms, which is exciting. So, yeah.
All thanks to Tyler.
All thanks to Tyler.
Not me, right? You're talking about the other Tyler?
No, we're talking about you,
We're
Tyler.
talking about you.
Me? You okay?
All right. Well, appreciate y'all tuning in. Yeah, and we'll catch you next time. Deuces.